this video, we are going to graph a piecewise defined function. Again, I see two pieces. Both are linear equations. One, the first piece has a restricted domain of x less than -1. And the second piece has a domain for x is greater than -1. So when I look at the first piece, I'm looking at 2x plus 5. And when I'm looking at the second piece, I'm just looking at 5 minus x. So now this is going backwards. So let me start with the first one. So x is -1, so just this point here, right? So I'm going to draw a little table where I'm going to find x, but my value needs to be -1, but then I cannot include -1 because it says less than. So I'm going to write -1, but whatever the value I'm going to get, I'm going to exclude from the graph. By putting a open circle. Okay, so now here my f of x is equal to 2x plus 5. Now in this case, the x is an independent variable still, but the values of x I pick needs to be from the left side of it. Like it has to be anywhere from this side. I cannot go to the other side of the number line. I can pick any number of values, but it has to be less than -1. So I'm going to pick -2, -3, -4, and that's enough, I think. So when x is -1, let me go, my f of -1 would be -2, or 2 times -1, -2 plus 5, which would be 3. Again, f of -2, 2 times -2 is -4 plus 5, which should be 1. Now f of -3, -6 plus 5, which is -1. f of -4, -8 plus 5, which should be -3. So the coordinates here are 3, 1, -1, and -3. So when I plot these points in the graph, the points I'm going to have is -1 comma 3, which is x is -1, y is 3, will be a point here, but it has to be an open circle, right? And then x equals -2 comma 1. When x is -2, the y value is 1, so there will be a point here. X is -3 comma -1. So when it's -3, it's going to be a point here, and when it's -4, it's going to be -3, -1, -2, -3. Now because this graph is going forever, I will draw a line and use an arrow on this end, and this arrow represents this graph goes forever in that direction. Okay, now I'm going to the second piece. For the second piece, let me use the blue, I'll use black. Okay, so the second piece is now, again, the x values I pick needs to be greater than or equal to -1. So I'll pick -1, but now in this case I'm going to include it, so I'll put a solid circle there. And then the next values I have to pick is from the right hand side of it, so 0. So it has to be from this side for the second piece. So I'm going to pick 0, then I'm going to pick 1, and then I'm going to pick 2, and I think that's enough, and you can extend it. So now my function is f of x is equal to 5 minus x. So when x is -1, f of -1 would be 5 minus -1, or 5 plus 1, which is 6. When x is 0, it is going to be 5 minus 0, that's 5. When x is 1, it's going to be 5 minus 1, 4. When x is 2, it's going to be 5 minus 2, which is 3. So these values are going to be 6, 5, 4, and 3. So when I graph these coordinates, it's going to be -1 comma 6. When x is -1, y is 6 is a point here, but this time it's going to be a solid circle because that point is included. Okay, then when x is 0, 5. So when it's 0, it is 5, so there's a dot there. And when x is 1, it's 4. So 1, 4 will be a point there. and when x is 2, 3 will be a point here, and then it keeps going in that direction. So I can draw a line, and again I'm going to use an arrow which says that that graph goes forever. This is how you graph a piecewise defined function.